Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation. Jeff Imada began his journey in the stunt world in the 1970s, a time where stunts were performed without CGI and relied heavily on the physical prowess and creativity of the performers. Jeff shares fascinating anecdotes about the risks taken, the camaraderie among stunt performers, and the evolution of film. He also shares his vision and experience as fight stunt coordinator on the Bourne series. Jeff's story is also one of personal resilience and cultural pride. Growing up in California, he faced his share of challenges and discrimination. However, these experiences also shaped his identity and fueled his passion for his craft and martial arts. It was such an honor meeting Jeff and grateful to him for setting up our interview in the historic Inosanto Academy in Los Angeles. I've been enjoying these conversations and hope you have too. If you have, please rate my podcast on your platform of choice and share it with others. If you would like to support with a donation to help keep this podcast going and support the work I do, you can become a patron of the show by visiting my website or patreon.com/SifuMimiChan. For comments or suggestions, reach out on social media at SifuMimiChan. Now, on with the show. Hello, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me on my podcast.
Well, it's a pleasure.
I cannot believe after decades and decades that I'm finally actually getting to meet you formally in person. We may have kind of seen each other in passing through all of the different industry connections, but in addition, we are in the historic and incredible Inosanto Academy, and that is because, you kind of have a hookup there. So thank you so much for this. This is such an honor.
Oh, no, it's a great place. It has a lot of history and culture, and it's been around for quite a while.
Quite a while, yes. You are also very California. You're born and raised here, yes? And
yeah.
What was that like? Because one of the things I'm really passionate about is the Asian American experience. I don't know if you're familiar, but I actually work in legislation in Florida to encourage Asian American history. And I'm always curious about other people's Asian American experience in different parts of the country. Because I certainly know my experience, but I would really be interested to hear what it was like for you growing up as an Asian American.
Well, growing up out here, I grew up in Inglewood, which was, and in the area at the time was very Caucasian, and although Inglewood's not that way now, but I think in my elementary school, I was only there's only 2 Asians in the class and 1 Hispanic at the time, I think. And my experience being Asian American, I got to know that I was a little different, at the age of 5.
Right.
Because going to school, one of the kids, we were walking back, there's 3 of us walking back, and he shoved me down and called me a dirty Jap. And I was going, what's a Jap? I didn't even know. And I know I've talked to my cousin who grew up in Northern Cal, and he didn't realize he was any different until he got into college. So,
wow.
Because then we talked about it because we're close in age, and he said, yeah, I didn't know, and there was that much difference until you got into college or leaving high school kind of thing. So I realized I was a little different than everybody else at a very early age.
And this is what I mean. Everywhere you talk to someone different and their experience is radically different. Because I had a very similar experience to you. It was very Caucasian in Orlando, Florida in 1980, in the times. And so for you, first of all, so sorry that experience happened, but how did you think that 5-year-old experience of him pushing you down, how did that shape you? What happened after those events?
Well, for one, it was a sort of a shock because, as a kid, you're just playing with other kids and think, everybody's the same. But I think in looking back, it helped quite a bit. And but at the time, I think it sort of made me think okay, I'm different. So, maybe more reserved and more apprehensive about different things. But I think it made me observe and things a little bit differently and listen and see things in a different perspective.
Yeah. Did you tell your parents about the interaction?
Yeah, I did.
What was their response?
Well, that's when they told me that, because
Here's why.
I got they actually it was across the street from my dad's business, and the neighbor where I got shoved down, saw it and called my dad, and my dad came over and he asked what was going on, and I said, well, this kid shoved me down, and da-da. I said, and he goes, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm okay, but what's a Jap?
And he's like, don't say that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it helped shape me a lot and appreciate our culture and everything else, and knowing that we're the same but we're different a little bit, especially also eating at school and different things. And
that is always the shared experience, because I think every Asian American has that lunchbox experience where I'm like, well, I was eating fried rice and a whole fish, and there was like, there's the tail, and what is happening? So what did you bring to school that someone said, where's your bologna sandwich?
Well, I did bring bologna sandwich, but my mom would put it on egg bread, which was yellow, right? And everybody's going, why is your bread not the same? I mean, just even a simple thing,
bread.
Even just simple thing like that, let alone bringing a musubi or something over and to school with a rice ball with nodia and stuff like that. But yeah, but it was pretty Americanized, and my mom would send lunches, but it was sort of funny, just even the color of the bread was like, a thing.
Exactly. Did you, because for me, for sure, my identity has changed greatly decade to decade. As a child, you just kind of, for me personally, wanted to fit in. I was like, okay, I'm not going to flaunt my, Chinese background. Like, what was it like for you, especially after that 5-year-old experience, as you progressed through elementary school? Were you proud of your heritage at that point, or was it something that you felt like you had to kind of hide? I mean, it's very difficult to hide, all this, everyone, right? Like how we look, but I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of experiences for people that.
I think it was mostly trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And so, and then at the time, my heritage was not that evident to me, that how different it was, because I wasn't like at their homes and stuff as much.
Yeah.
So, but also it's like, again, when I got a little bit, and also I realized that, okay, there's only 3 minorities in the class, right? So.
Did you guys gravitate towards one another?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're kids, you just want to play with whoever's cool to play with. I mean, whoever wants to play with you. So, but then as I got older, I remember I think it was in junior high or maybe elementary school. It was maybe junior high, and was it junior high? I can't remember, junior high or maybe high school. That there's another incident where these kids were coming by and they made some comment. I was walking home or something, and they sort of gave me a shove or something, and I just sort of went into a martial arts stance. And the kid looked. These 3 kids were together, and they're going, "Oh, dude," he goes, and they're going, "Come on, you want to fight?" And I go, and I didn't know really anything at the time. I just got in a stance, and then one kid goes, "I don't know, man. I think he knows origami." Because we better leave him alone.
Did you pull out a piece of paper and was like, great.
And I just had to keep a straight face, and I'm going, yeah, you better watch out.
I know origami.
I didn't say anything, but I was like, you better watch out.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, I think he knows origami. You better leave him alone.
That is hilarious, but also a little frightening, right? Because here you are, you have the trauma from being 5 and having a physical altercation, and then like, what made you strike the pose? Was it a film you saw, or what was the inspiration behind that?
I guess so, probably, or just,
Instinct.
I think so.
Survival instinct.
I think from stuff I watched on TV or something, but so I think it was definitely, I think it was maybe at junior high or first year in high school or something.
Right.
So, but it was, I just remember that when the kid made that comment, and I was like, oh no, that's pretty funny. Doesn't even know what origami is.
Doesn't even know what origami is. Yeah, I mean, it's so typical though, because bullies are like that, right? They just throw things out there. And so was your draw to martial arts because of these experiences, or really it was for different reasons?
No, it's different. I went to martial arts mostly to stay in shape, probably as 14, 15, and then some of my friends were taking judo and different things. So I'd work out with them, or mostly be thrown around by them.
Right. At the time. Well, that's the harder part anyway. You get to learn how to do all the falls, and hence the future stunt expertise.
Yeah,
right?
And then I got into martial arts mostly to stay in shape, and then slowly it kept evolving into something more.
Yes, into mastery. So
never mastery, but
all subject to opinion. But you also, I read, were a trained classical pianist.
Oh yeah, I took like 6 years or 7 like that, something like.
Do you ever still play?
I still have keyboards, but I
Okay.
haven't played. And I used to play in bands and stuff, so
Okay.
I kept a lot of that equipment, and so we used to do a lot of cover songs and top 40 stuff, a few originals, but
Nice.
And I used to play in a lot of different bands, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I gravitated toward that way, and was my teacher couldn't exactly help in that direction for improv and theory and stuff like that, so I had to find out from other people.
Yeah, and I'm always interested because my mom was a musician. Of course, my father's a martial artist, but I always found, okay, I got a little bit of the rhythm from her Jamaican side, and then of course the martial art training. And for me, there was a lot of intersection between the two. Did you find as you became, more and more entrenched into martial arts that your musical background had any overlap, or was it like a completely different discipline for you?
No, definitely. Music definitely helped, and also the music, and then my parents used to ballroom dance all the time. So I'd be around that atmosphere a lot, and we used to watch a lot of the old musicals and things like that. And
You have any favorites?
well, I like all the Fred Astaire stuff and Gene Kelly stuff and things like that. So those are always good, and then it evolved and overlapped into the film industry. So and I draw a lot from music and dance and things for that.
Yeah, I think people underestimate those. I mean, not classical dance, but when you look back at the Gene Kellys and you watch some of those, like the Singing in the Rain sequence or any of the sequences, you're like, they're super athletes.
Oh yeah.
They are not even, you say dancer and there's a, kind of a image that comes up. But for me, I'm always like, it's phenomenal, just the coordination and the athleticism. I think that's underplayed a lot.
Yeah.
Did you do any ballroom yourself?
I did some, yeah, but at the time, it's hard to keep a partner because their boyfriends generally got upset. So, or if I was in a relationship with them or something, maybe that didn't work. But yeah, I did do some ballroom stuff.
Yeah. What was your what was your go-to one?
No, I just would learn various
whatever
things,
the waltz and the foxtrots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love ballroom. I think it's really kind of fast forwarding. And again, I think I'm drawing too much comparison, but even in stunt work, because I had like a little experience, but partner work, like fight work, all of that, like dancing and having that balance, that rhythm, that choreography, and that ability to read your partner. I would imagine spatial relationship. Yeah, what other kind of parallels? I mean, without even going, oh, definitely this happened with this, but now looking back, do you go, oh, maybe my dance and my, kind of helped with why you're so amazing at what you do?
Oh, thanks. But it helped quite a bit because I got into New York style couple dancing hustle stuff at the time.
Yes.
So there's a lot of fast moves and intricate hand, turning and stuff like that. So I think that really helped, and also because New York style, we also you change partners during a dance and just spin your partner to another guy, and then they spin somebody to you. So there's a lot more than just staying with one partner.
Yeah.
And I use that a lot. That understanding of spatial relationship and distance and timing and stuff for when I do stunts and choreography. And if we're doing fights, then there's somebody that I need and there's people aren't available, then I'll usually get a dancer and modify their moves, because as opposed to they'll say, oh, we got this great MMA fighter or something, or a boxer or something. I'll say, well, that's great, but it depends on this. Doing choreography is a different art, as you know. It's not just like straight martial arts or straight fighting.
Yes.
So you have to. It's a different art because you have to learn how to take reactions, and you have to pretend like you're throwing a punch and or hitting somebody and things. So if I had a choice and the person didn't react well, I usually pick a dancer and modify their skills because they're already used to training working hard every day and practicing every day, and they understand distance and choreography, remember choreography. And
correct. Yeah, I find that as well in my very limited experience as well. Even just at the Kung Fu school, right, where we're doing fight sets, you find the ones that have some sort of dance background really take to the choreography memory because it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Like you can be the most amazing fighter and that's a totally different animal because then you're like, no, I need you to do it exactly like this again the next time. And they're like, what do you mean? They're so instinctual versus learned. So I love that take. That makes a lot of sense, which is also why, through my time when I was here, a lot of the, stunt performers, they were dancers that kind of like, okay, can you show me how to do the kick? not with the foot turned out, but because there was just those little tweaks, but they do make really good martial arts for fight choreography.
Yeah, because if you're a fighter, the worst thing you can do is turn your head away from your opponent.
Right.
So you're saying, okay, I'm going to throw a punch, now I want you to snap your head away, and you're going, oh, it's, so it's like...
It's counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. But I mean, there's skilled everybody's has different abilities, so you find some great fighters that are great for movie stuff too.
Exactly.
But it's just, I just found a little bit more often that... but understanding choreography and doing something like you were saying, doing it over and over again, exactly the same way. Generally, fighters don't necessarily want to do something over and over again the same way.
Well, generally, if you're getting punched in the face, you don't want it to happen over and over again. So we kind of avoid that, but...
And then people can read that you're going to do the same thing over and over again.
You know what? One of the hardest things was the reactions because I was like, oh, I could just get whiplash all day. It's like basically getting whiplash all day long. Yeah. And I always had like neck things. I was like, God, man, I would rather... You want me to do flips or what? I was like, but reactions were like my least favorite, which is all you have to do when you're doing fight sets.
Pretty much.
So whenever I watch, I'm like, great reactions when I'm watching a stunt
I know,
fight.
and especially if you're a stunt person, because you're not, unless you're doubling the hero, if you're hired to fight the good guy, you're the one who's taking all the hits.
Exactly. So you've had a little bit of whiplash in your time.
Yeah, but generally you get conditioned.
That's it. My neck just wasn't strong enough.
But my old chiropractor used to say, your neck is a mess. It's like it's like you're hypermobile. It's like you have nothing going on in your neck, and you're like, I was like 30 or something. He goes, your neck's like a 60-year-old guy.
And you're like, I don't know why.
I know. I don't know why I can turn my head all the way this way.
You're like, were you on the last Exorcist film? No. One thing I'm always interested in, even just from a martial artist standpoint, is, I was a competitor as a youth and everything, and I always had kind of like, here's my prep routine. Did you have a prep routine as a stunt performer that you had before you were to we're going to start rolling, or you knew you had a big scene or something? Is there something you did? And they may have changed over the years too. Like, feel free to share.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, it's like yourself. I'm sure you visualized everything you had to do and stuff. So there is a lot of that. Visualizing the choreography or visualizing the stunt, especially like if I was doing a high fall or something. Especially the first big high fall. You visualize it over and over again. So, and I remember I did a 80, 90 foot high fall and out of a helicopter. And it was one of the first big high falls I've done. And I visualized it so much that when I actually did it, I got up and I hit the bag and everybody's going, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And they go, you okay? And I go, yeah. And they're going, because they could tell, I'm going, no, it's like not a big deal. It's like I visualized it so much I didn't even get an adrenaline rush or anything.
Wow.
So it's
you have a very vivid imagination.
So yeah. Yeah, so maybe from when I was a kid. No, but yeah, I mean, it was really something that part of doing stunts and acting, there's always different challenges and different things that you learn and realize that you sort of throw on your bag of tricks and stuff. But it was one of the first times I thought, well, visualization really, is really, this can be so real that And now they show proof of that.
Yes, yeah, there's like scientific proof. And, my husband's a personal trainer. We talk about all the time, like that visualization practice. All my students before competition, we actually have them not meditate per se, but they literally have to sit there and go through their sets over and over in silence and then in really loud, crowded situations, because then when we go to the tournament site, there's the Wallum students sitting there, like everyone's like jumping around in the ring, swirling their swords, doing flowers, and like all of my students generally will make sure they take 2 minutes to just sit, and regardless of what's going around, I'm like, I need you to be able to see your form visually where you're at, and it makes a big difference.
It does, and that's what I was doing too. I just go through it all as a stunt person, or or prepare, and then sort of like, okay, give me a moment while some of the guys are huffing and puffing, pumping themselves up and stuff, and I just sort of, and they're going, "You okay? You good?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm good." You're not
cool, Jeff.
You're not worried about it. I said, oh,
I'm prepared.
Preparing. Yeah, so.
I get you. Okay, is this something now? Because now you're the director. Now you're the one that's kind of putting the whole dance together, right? Do you tell your stunt performers this tip, or do you allow each of them to have their own way?
I allow each of them to have their own, unless they're looking really nervous or something. Then I'll have a talk to them, and
You're not like, but I got to tell you, there is a better way. It's my way. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, everybody has their own way,
I know.
Right? So you try and help them find their method.
Yeah.
But it's a personal thing. But you generally, when they're huffing and puffing around, you're like, oh, okay, well, you don't want to kill the guy you're working with, so calm down.
Generally, that's the plan, unless it's the last take of the day and you're going to get it, and you already have a good one in the bag now.
Yeah, but it's been a nice career, and like things going on.
An incredible career. I of course have followed you through the years, and we were here earlier talking, and we were trying to figure out how we met each other. And I mean, this was like 20 something years ago, and then you go even further back with your extensive list of credits. And I was looking through it yesterday, and it was just literally, I had to keep scrolling. I had to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and it's just phenomenal. I mean, from the beginning, origins of the work all the way into what you're doing now. Of course, huge fan of the Bourne series and all the things that you've done there. I feel like that in particular was a really refreshing moment in fight cinema, because I think we had just come out of the heavy wire work, everyone's flying around, and like, I am I love Hong Kong film. I grew up on Shaw Brothers. I grew up on all that. But then I always think there's a time and a place, right, for the mystical flying. And I feel like if it's never necessary, and this is just my personal rant and opinion, why is it there if it's not necessary? Or, it's unnecessary. But that was so refreshing to see. And clearly, because of, I think you were able to really highlight your martial arts expertise in that, and it really shined through. So, one, huge fan, oh my goodness. But what was that like for you?
It was a great experience. I mean, I remember they called and they were wondering if I would, because it was such a stunt heavy show, they were wondering if I would come over, and they had the car stuff, and then they had fights and shootouts and stuff like that, and they wondered if I would come over and do part of it. And I said, well, I'm coordinating all the stunts on my own shows, because I just didn't do fight stuff, and I didn't want to get pigeonholed just as a fight guy.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I don't. They go, if you come over here, but I go, but then I have to turn down my own projects. And they said, but they sort of said, well, we want you, it's so heavy, we want you to come over here. And I said, well, if you pay me my rate as a regular coordinator, then I'll come over and do that. And they said, okay. And I went, okay, well then, fine. Then it's not gonna be bad for me to turn down something else if I'm on this project. And working with Matt was such a pleasure, and he's just such a great guy, and so down to earth, and really very great athlete. I don't think I could have done a lot of that stuff without Matt. Because he has such a good acting background, and such a good actor, and just real athletic, that there's things to draw from to make him look more convincing as that person. So, and then they gave me sort of free rein to do stuff, where other shows, before that, if there was fights and stuff, they'd say, oh, you want to do like a low line kick and a quick finger jab to the eyes or something. They'd say, oh no, you can't do that. You go, why not? Because, well, the camera won't catch that. I said, yeah, you can catch that, you know, because they're used to the old style big John Wayne stuff and things like that.
Waymakers.
Yeah, and so I said, well, what difference does it make? I mean, does it matter if I throw a big punch that goes across like this, or if I just go, you know, just go like that? It still makes it look like a hit, right? But before that, not in the Bourne films, but years before that, it was hard for
resistance.
hard for them to understand that.
They didn't have the visualization imagination that you had. That's why.
Well, I think because we grew up and watched all this thing. You know,
Exactly. And then it became everybody only wants that now, right? It's like, oh, where were you 30 years ago?
Yeah, and like you said, the wire stuff, it got a little old after a while because you're seeing it in commercials all of a sudden. And you know, if it's for a fantasy film or a period film,
100%.
It's great.
It makes sense. Yeah. Yes. If you've got on a traditional, you know, wuxia costume and you're flying through the trees, okay. But if you're just like, you know, having a beer at the bar, like,
and somebody goes like this and you fly
I'm
over
like,
a wall.
come on. So I'm with you because I go, I want to have an enjoyable film experience watching, but if you can't really get there with the film if you have to really suspend disbelief for so much of it, right?
Because,
and you're going,
because there's a story that you're trying to tell,
Yes.
and you're trying to stay grounded in that story.
Yes.
And then if you do something that's, you know, out of the ordinary, then it takes you out of the movie, and you're like, whoa, that was sort of wild. And then you have to get back into it.
Yeah,
now
it's
you're
very disruptive.
you don't believe it anymore. You're like,
I'm gonna go get some popcorn.
yeah.
But
and it becomes a popcorn movie.
ooh, that's a whole nother discussion. Name all your popcorn movies. No, I'm just kidding. I know you still have to work in this industry, but I mean, I know that one of the things, because right when I was working in the industry, it was like 99, 2000. So that was, can you do wire work? I'm like, sure. But I literally, I had to go on set and they're like teaching me what to do along the way. I happened to work with a Hong Kong stunt coordinator. So I was so fortunate because I got a crash course lesson. So I know how demanding and challenging and respect to the art form. But again, if it's not relevant, it doesn't need to be done.
Yeah, and it's really should be appreciated because the person who's riding the line or the wire, then not wires anymore so much, but you know, you have to be a good performer. And but the thing is, people don't realize that the people that are pulling,
riggers,
because the riggers and if you're doing a hand pull when they're controlling you by hand, those guys are just as much a part of the performance.
100%.
You know, and you don't see them. They're like your dance partners. You know, you're like very closely knit because if somebody's off, it doesn't matter how good your performer you are, then they don't make you look good.
Exactly.
And if they're good, but you're not a good performer, then it doesn't work either. So it's just like any choreography. If one person's out of step, then it throws the whole thing off.
Yeah, and there's so much that you just said there that I really love and I want to kind of dissect because one, you have stunt performers and they kind of are the unsung heroes a lot of times of the shows. And then now you're talking behind the stunt performers. You've got the riggers and all the efforts that go into these effects and to the performance, and they're even more the unsung heroes of it. So there's like so many layers of that. And you know, kind of as somebody who started off in the stunt industry, but like martial artists have all that experience, it's a lot of people always say, well, you know, you don't want to get credit, quote unquote, for what you do. And like what do you feel is fulfilling for you as you started to kind of get into your career, and like why stunts was fun, like instead of like I want to be on front of camera, or well, I mean you still are on front of camera, but you know what I mean. It's like the unsung heroes of this film. Usually you get, this is a Tom Cruise film, and like that's the poster, right? And I think it's interesting. I always find I want to know kind of what you feel you get out of that experience.
Well, I think you're right. Stunt people are very much behind the scenes, or not supposed to be noticed as much. I mean, it was very that's how I was brought up. Don't draw attention if you're doubling somebody.
Yes.
So just stay off to the side.
Yeah.
Don't draw attention to yourself or draw attention to the actor that he has a stunt double. And so you really are the unsung hero.
Yes.
People, especially if you're doing big stunts and stuff. But that's the way I was brought up. And the thing is, a lot of times this studio or the producers don't feel like, okay, why should we pay these guys this much? And it's like, well, because they're professional athletes. They've trained all these years. They go, but it looks so simple. I said, yeah, but they make it. That's why it looks so simple because they're so well trained, and
Exactly.
they put years of study and training to be as good as they are. I go, if you don't want to pay them, I can bring in the B team, and then you'll realize we'll have to do many more takes, and you're going to go into overtime and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's like, we're professional athletes, and we're not in front of the we're not exposed to the public as
Right.
much, but you see professional athletes making a lot more money than stunt
100%.
people.
And you put your lives at risk.
Yeah, and we try to make it safe, but like you said, the riggers and everybody else, even further behind the scenes, they go, well, they're just rigging stuff. Well, they shouldn't get this and that. Well, but they're making everybody safe, and they're also part of the performance package. So I think some people are understanding that a little bit more now, but it was like pulling teeth to really.
Yeah.
You need how many people? No, just yourself. Just find some people locally and things like that. So it was very much a slow progress to get to the point we are now.
Yeah, slow progress all around, right?
Yeah.
And I was curious because the stunt world is a little different than acting. So I had, on a personal level, not to make this about me, but, 99, 2000, 2001 in LA, in the Hollywood area, as an Asian American trying to be an actor was very different than 2024, everybody. And I am so grateful for that. I am grateful for turning on Netflix or Amazon or one of those and seeing like an all Asian cast. I was like, what crazy dimension are we in? This is not the experience I had. I had a really tough time, right, with my identity and how people perceive me. And, oh, you're really great for the role, but you don't look the part. I'm like, well, what does that mean, right? And so, right, and so we've seen this progress, and things have changed. Things have changed for the stunt industry, where you're finally getting to say, no, like, this is safety, this is important. As a stunt performer, though, and of course I did have some experience in that, was it the same? Was it, well, you're Asian, so we don't need you in this, even though you're behind the scenes and the unsung heroes? It was still problematic, right?
Yeah, because when I started, it was very problematic. I mean,
Yeah.
the only time you're pretty much going to know you're going to work is if it was an Asian storyline.
Okay.
And generally TV, episodic, which was big when I was doing it, like TJ Hooker, Heart to Heart, and
Yeah.
a lot of those shows, A-Team and stuff. You'd get hired sometimes to be just a nondescript, what they call nondescript stunt person, just anybody off the street. But generally, your work was if it was an Asian storyline, and Asian storylines only came about once per season.
Yeah, when there was a Chinatown scene.
Yeah, and then even then, back then, there would be guys going, okay, well, so-and-so, you dress up as that person, and they're Caucasian, and they're dressing them to make them look Asian. And it was happening with all the minorities.
Yes.
And it wasn't all the time, but it was a lot,
Yes.
quite prevalent.
Yeah.
And you'd see them dressing as women and
Yes.
and blacks
Exactly.
and Latinos and everything else, and you're like going, oh, okay, but we're all standing right here.
You're like, hello, over here. Yeah, I mean, it even happened in the 90s. Yeah, I was on sets and I'm like, okay, so why is he doubling her when there's some amazing stunt women that could totally do this? So it was interesting.
Well, and again, it's like having the opportunity to show that you can do stuff, but yet, and then feeling comfortable enough to give you the opportunity.
Yes.
So you sort of understand a little bit, but it's sort of, if you're a minority, you should be doubling a minority, or if you're female or something, you should be doubling female. So, but it was a
struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yet you persisted, and you're, like I said, scroll, still working, still, you worked your way through. Like, what drove you despite all of the struggles and the challenges?
People saying, I remember some people saying, oh, you're never going to make it in the business. So I took it as a little bit of a challenge.
Challenge accepted.
And also, I felt, I've realized too that early on, if it was a black performer or Latino or Asian or something, if you did not do a good job, it was like you got labeled. I mean, it affected everybody. See, like, the Latinos can't do anything, or the blacks can't do anything, just because one person didn't perform. But
yet, if not one of our ethnic performers messed up, that didn't kind of change that for that dynamic, right?
Yeah, I know. I've seen guys where they wreck a car in rehearsal, and they're just going, oh, bring me another car.
Okay.
But if we did that,
Yes.
it'd be like, okay,
get me a news performer.
you dress up as him and jump in the car.
Amazing. Yeah.
So it's sort of like, so you had to make sure if you had the opportunity to do work that you did
flawless.
Yeah, you did it perfectly, so that at least they would realize that, oh, maybe the rest of the Asians can do a good job.
You basically had all of the Asians on your shoulder. And I know there was other pioneers as well, but it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Quite a bit because.
By the way, because I don't think I would have had work in the 90s if you hadn't paved the way. So thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Seriously.
Well, I'm glad. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I had for the guys who gave me the opportunity to do the job.
Yeah.
And luckily, I did a good job.
Fantastic job. But speaking of which, I've interviewed a lot of my friends and some Wallem guys who went through the stunt industry, and all of our listeners are always curious because it is dangerous. And I mean, even on set, we were talking about wire work. I was on a film set where the harnesses, for some reason, were restitched and we didn't use good ones.
Really?
And I literally was supposed to swing from one tree to another. Right before me, my fellow partner, she was right before me. She went through and then it broke. And luckily, it was really traumatic, actually. Whole set shut down the day. But luckily, she's fine now. But she fell in such a way that it broke her tailbone because she fell on a concrete an edge, but it was in a way of which she didn't get paralyzed. Like, it was just like the perfect fall if there could have been one. But the sound, I'll never forget all of it. The sounds, the feeling, and then I was like, I was next, I mean, not to be selfish, but you're going, holy moly. And even on that same set, there was a lot of accidents. I had a black eye for 4 weeks, and I was in college at the time. I had to show up, and I'm sure everyone thought I was some abused woman. I'm like, no. So, but there are accidents, and there are things that happen. Is there something that you can share that's well, this is one of my, this is traumatic. When you didn't, the visualization and all of it still didn't align. But is there a stunt thing that was ooh?
Fortunately, I pretty much, knock on wood, come out,
Okay.
semi unscathed. Broken nose, or maybe I'm sure I broke a finger or something like that.
Yeah.
But, back then, never really got it checked. Just sort of
Kept going.
And I'd hate to get an MRI on my neck and different than my back, because I'm sure it's probably, I'd be really depressed about it.
We'll just skip that.
But I've been very fortunate over the years. I mean, there's times where there's some close calls. I remember doing a car hit, and one of the guys was driving, and we rehearsed it, and you watch, okay, can we see how fast you're going? And it'd be 10, 12 miles an hour, and maybe 15 or something. And then I'm running away doubling an actor, and I can hear him coming around the corner, and all of a sudden it's like he's driving, all of a sudden I hear, like this, and I'm going, oh, the four-barrel just kicked in, and he's coming much faster than we rehearsed.
Oh.
And hit me with the car. I turn around and get hit by the car, and I'm supposed to stay on the front half of the vehicle,
okay,
up to the windshield, and then just get spit off. And then he's going so fast, I went up on top of the roof of the car, and I'm trying to hold on so I don't go off the back. And then he slammed on the brakes, and they just shot off the roof, didn't even touch the hood, and hit the ground and rolled on the ground. Which I know is fine.
Of course you are.
Fortunately, because you got to fall for martial arts and things like that. But he jumped out of the car and ran over and go, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I go,
you ruined the tank.
I go, yeah. I go, did they all cut? And he goes, and they're going, cut. And he goes, hey, what are you running the shot for? And I'm going, oh my God.
Because you're like, I'm not doing that one again.
So then they said, can you do it again? So then, but then he came so slow.
It did, yeah. Then you had to jump up.
I had to jump up on the hood, and I'm going, oh, this looks horrible. But they had to use that, and I'm going, that is horrible.
Isn't that the worst?
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
And then there's
you're let the safety people check on me. You stay in the car, man.
And he's the coordinator. Oh. So he should have known better.
Who was that? No, I'm just kidding. We don't name names, but that's wow.
Yeah. So fortunately, I've been, there's some spots, and there's some other times where, it's I don't think this is physically possible, but we'll give it a shot.
Oh gosh.
But it's been. There's some times, that's why they call it stunts, because, they go, well, we can have the actor. I go, what's the difference between him doing the actor? I said, well, because something can go wrong. If it was 100% safe, then we'd have all the actors could do it.
Exactly.
But it's not 100% safe. So you try and make it as safe as possible, and you know, do it that way. I mean,
a lot of variables.
Yeah,
though.
there's times where like I was playing a part, and it was a big strafing where the helicopter comes, air wolf comes in, the helicopter comes in and shoots up this camp, and I was a soldier and stuff, and I'm in a tower, and it comes in and I asked the effects guys, okay, what do you got? I got some naphthalene and different things for, you know, for the explosion, and the timing was supposed to be at a certain point, and they said hang in there before the tower, as the tower starts falling, then jump, and we're supposed to land on another roof next to it, and then the explosion was supposed to be, there's a sequence of a couple of explosions going off because it was supposed to be a strafing run, and all of a sudden it goes boom, boom, and the tower starts leaning, and all of a sudden as I jump, there's another explosion.
Oh.
And I'm just like, oh, I see a roof. Oh, no, I don't see the roof
Oh.
anymore. And so I'm in the middle of the explosion, and I hit the roof, roll down the roof, and then fall from the roof down to the ground. And then again, but this time they yelled cut, and one of the guys ran in the shot and said, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And I got up, and my clothes were like all full of holes.
From being burnt.
Yeah, from all this stuff.
So you're a really good roller.
Have to be. I mean, hitting the ground all the time as a stunt person, yeah, you sort of have to.
You got to roll. Yeah, roll out of it. Roll out of it. Whatever you do, roll out of it.
And I say for any person that's learning how to do stunts, they should be familiar with how to fall, because at the time, there's some guys who just had a lot of heart, and they would take hard falls.
Yeah.
And
that's not
for those
sustainable.
of us that, for those of us that had a background in martial arts or gymnastics or something, then you can make it look like you're hitting the ground hard, but you're saving yourself, right?
Yes.
And some guys just hit the ground hard, and then
they look great for the take, but do you want to work neck tomorrow, kind of thing?
That's the thing. And my philosophy, and the guys I came up with that taught me too, is like, okay, you know, you want to make it look crazy and dangerous and like you're getting banged up and hurt, but you want to be able to get up and go to work tomorrow.
Exactly.
You want to be safe, you know, because otherwise if you're hurt and then, you know, maybe that shot was great and you look good for that film, but you're out of work for the next 2 weeks or 2 months.
Or longer.
Or longer,
longer.
So it's better to make it look like it's dangerous, but you know,
I would say so. I would say not getting injured is usually the best thing. Like being able to get up and walk away, very ideal. It's so funny because my husband always teases me because I'm very clumsy. Actually, I know. If I'm doing kung fu, I'm not clumsy. But if I'm walking, very clumsy.
Wow.
So I've like literally fallen down the stairs. But luckily, I was able to fall down the stairs and get back up.
Well, I've done that too, actually.
It's a stunt person there. You know, we just fall down the stairs all the time.
But then, you know, that's what dancers too, right? Dancers always trip and fall and or stub their toes and
See,
stuff.
people don't believe us. I'm like, no, like furniture attacks me. It's a thing. Okay, so let's tie this together because we've talked a lot about stunts, but like the martial arts part of it is the learning to follow. We talked about you literally getting thrown around in judo in the very beginning. And there is so much groundwork. There's so much learning how to fall is also amazing lifesaver for like senior citizens. Like it's the thing to learn to do, but you kept saying, well, my martial arts background allowed me to be able to thrive in this and be safe and everything. I'd love to kind of hear how you've evolved as a martial artist and like because of the stunts, like how that kind of came into play with how you've trained and the emphasis that you have, or if you just like, oh no, when I do my martial arts, I want to have it, this is for me. Like, what is your martial arts experience?
Martial arts experience, well, falling was, you know, a big thing, right?
Yeah.
And gymnastics, I had a gymnastics background too, so I'm sure that helped a lot. And in fact, I know it helped a lot. But my martial arts was, like I said at the beginning, it was mostly to stay in shape, and then it slowly evolved where, you know, Bruce Lee was. You know,
Bruce Lee was Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Bruce Lee was Bruce Lee, and you know, big, you know, fan of Bruce Lee, and so I sought out. I was doing a couple other styles before that, and Taekwondo and Kempo and different things. But then I sought out to learn, you know, how to do Bruce Lee stuff. You know? And he doesn't like to call it an art, but you know, it's like. So I fortunately met Dan Inosanto, and Bruce Lee was out of town and stuff like that, and I just met him, but I didn't start training with him until after when Bruce passed away in '73. So I started training with him in '74, and it was such a great experience to be able to come in and learn and do the same things that you saw on screen, and also be exposed to many more things. And so it was an interesting experience at the beginning, because there's so much. It was so different. It was very not traditional traditional in the traditional sense. So doing things, just simple footwork and stuff, is like you're doing footwork and you walk by and say, okay, that's good, that's good, that's good. And you're like looking at everybody and you go, but everybody's not doing it exactly the same,
Yeah.
So how can it be all this? How can it be
Yeah.
good? Because you come from a traditional background where everybody has to look exactly the same.
Yes, yes.
And,
There's a
your
goal.
stances, everything has to be, So it's like, oh, but that's good, that's good, that's good. And then you start realizing later that, oh, it's, you're fit in, it's good for each individual,
Yes.
right? Because their build is different, their stances, their legs are longer or shorter and stuff like that. So to be exactly in the same, so precise with everybody, regardless whether you're 5 foot or 6'3",
Yes,
it's
of
going to be
course.
different.
Everybody's
So,
different.
And,
Yeah.
and everybody's built different. So it should fit you. So that was, sort of the thing where learning about Bruce Lee's philosophy and learning to fit in and adjust and make it your own. And you make the movements your own, but being exposed to as many things as you can. So Dan Sano, who did that, and was really great about that. Plus, he had a huge background himself in other arts.
Of course,
And,
of course.
So he started teaching the Filipino martial arts, which nobody really knew about back
Yeah.
then. And so he recommended, he goes, I'm going to start a Filipino martial arts class, a Kali class, and if you can make it, it'd be great to take the class. And I said, well, whatever you think we should do,
Yeah.
I'll do it. And so that became another journey, and it still is a journey. And then just being exposed to so many different styles all these years, and is all about exploring, and not, before it was like, okay, you take this system,
Yes,
that's it, don't study anything else. And I remember I was going from one karate class to Taekwondo, and my instructor goes, it's not Taekwondo. He goes, what are you doing? You stop that. Whatever you're doing, you stop that. So I was already cross-training.
Right, and like, we can tell.
On the way from going from one class to the other, I'm in my head going, okay, I got to
Visualize.
not do that stuff. I got to just focus on this stuff. But I got caught.
You got caught anyway. Yeah.
But learning from at the Kali Academy, it was like, okay, study other things. It's like get exposed to as many things as you can. So, and he still says that today. He goes, don't just study from me, study from other people. Find things that are good for you. And being exposed to other arts also reinforces a lot of things.
Of course,
you've
of
learned,
course. So much overlap in philosophy and just.
And very much so. And it's all about, economy of motion and what works and things. So you find that people that are very proficient, there's a lot of similarities with the way you move. I mean, and it's just a lot of transitional things may be different, or the stances may be different, but your body can only move so many different ways, and that's it.
Right.
So there may be a big difference at the beginning, but as you get, everybody gets better, then it becomes more refined, and it becomes very economical and the less movement, the better to get things done, right? So, and higher level of sensitivity and things. So it's been a great journey along the way, and plus it helped in the movie industry because in school I learned fencing, and we did fencing at the academy, and we did capoeira, you did all kinds, kung fu, we did all kinds of things, and we studied with other friends and stuff.
Yeah.
So it came in handy if you had to do something in the movie industry, and sort of like, oh, do you know a little bit of this style, or do you do Tai Chi? I'm not an expert in Tai Chi, but I know enough to make it, at least it looks like you're not like pretending to do something.
Right.
So,
well, also just like knowing your own body and movement, and then just being able to kind of emulate and be adaptable, I think is.
Or if they have a certain background, at least if you're exposed to it, then you can sort of relate to that
Exactly.
person.
So. Well, it allows you to be a quick study too, right?
Yeah.
And like, well, I know my movements, so then you can learn the choreography. Because it's still just about choreo, because you're taking dancers and teaching them intricate martial arts, and they're not even martial artists, but they're able to emulate it and make it look authentic, right?
Yeah, because it's not real fighting. If
Exactly.
if you're training a real fighter, then of course the approach would be completely
different. And also like, okay, you're going to a martial art tournament. A dancer would be called out, just like your taekwondo karate master's like, no, I can tell.
Yeah.
So of course in those, but for film, it's about the movement and the execution and the performance art of it, the performance side of it. I think it's just so different. And I love that in martial arts, it's very exploratory and very personal, because some people gravitate toward, no, I just want to fight, and that's their thing. And some people, I like performing, I like to go to the competitions and shows. And some people have like it's really cool that it could be something that becomes so personal to you, but yet we're all in the same classroom on that same journey together. And there's this energy, but everybody still has their own individual goal. What would you say maybe in the 70s, like who you were at that time as a student, and then now who you are as a student? What are the differences?
Probably, I mean, there's always this thirst for knowledge to learn more, but I think back then it was very much, I mean, now you can look at YouTube or something and see stuff.
You can,
right?
but...
I mean, you have to sort of really
only to
pick
watch
out,
this podcast, no.
Yeah, only this podcast. but you can really, you have to still decipher what is authentic and what is not. But back then, in order to learn something, you had to be with the person, or you had to get a book, which is sort of difficult to learn movement in a book.
You can always tell people who learn from the books, right?
Yeah. It's like, no, that's supposed to be fluid.
Like the page change, you could tell there was like no transitions.
Yeah. But I think back then it was, the world was still bigger back then. Now the world's much smaller. So if you want to learn something from the other side of the world, you can pretty much find it pretty easily now. And now, back then it was sort of like, if somebody came in from another country, it's sort of like, wow, this is completely different than you've ever seen before. And now, at least, now I think you're exposed to it more, I think, and you can find it easier. But back then, learning was, and plus, martial arts was not really out in the open that much when we started. So I think it was for people to share and be able to open up to be able and share with you was quite a privilege.
Yes.
And you really had to appreciate. I mean, you still appreciate it now, but
but I understand it was very closed, tight knit circles,
and people kept things really
exclusive.
Close, and maybe family and stuff like that only. So if you were allowed to see it, even see it, and let alone learn it, it was like quite a privilege to be able to do that. And so I think there's a big difference then. And I don't think people not everybody, but I think some people don't appreciate, what they get, what they're getting now, and how easily they
accessible.
Get it. How accessible, easy.
Not just martial arts, kind of everything, right? But yes, but specifically martial arts, and how resources are so available. And the masters that are just willing to answer these questions that before you weren't even allowed to talk to your master. It was just like, but now they're so excited. I mean, it's just a different world, different time.
And there's quite a few more masters now too. We won't
masters. I will call it out. As Sifa Mimi Chan show, masters. Yeah, we know. We know what, or great grandmasters, or founders of my own. I am the supreme person at the top of the certificate list.
Which there was hardly any back then. Unless, you get more acknowledgement if when you're getting ready to pass away or something.
Of course. No, I understand. No disrespect to people, but I think it's great when people do want to study and share. But I hear what you're saying. I love that. I love we're ending on this note, masters. Jeff, it's been such an extreme honor and pleasure, and just being here in Asanto Academy is such a privilege. So thank you for allowing me to share this space and just to be able to have this energy in this conversation. I would literally sit here for like 2 more hours with you, but I'm pretty sure you have things to do. So
well, you have a lot of things to do, but no, I mean, this place, I appreciate that they've allowed us to use this facility. Yes.
So thank you so much, and hopefully, we'll chat again soon, and we'll pick up and have more fun stories, and you rolling off of some sort of building or car or something to share.
Telling your stories about how you.
All right, deal. Thank you so much, sir. This has been such an honor. Everybody, the great, amazing Jeff Imada.
Thank you.
Till next time.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to The Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram or Facebook.